Are you using a service like Instagram? Are you putting 30 hashtags on a photo but wondering why there's no engagement? Yeah, let's fix that.
Alright, so you're a music artist with plans to take over the world, huh?
Yeah, duh. That's why I'm here.
Well, you've come to the right place.
Let's go!
Welcome to the Am Northbound podcast. Your guide to dominating the new music industry.
If you're posting on a social network that promotes the use of hashtags, you must play along, because if you don't, you're passing up so much free exposure to a far bigger audience. Hashtagging is amazing, but just like everything online, there's a trick to it. And unfortunately, most music artists are doing hashtags incorrectly. And if you're using hashtags incorrectly, you may as well be not using them at all. We're after free exposure for your music, right? So let's make sure that we're using hashtags correctly. They may seem simple on the surface, but they're actually far from it. Hashtags can either be your best friend or just completely useless. Completely useless. I'm sure that you see people use hashtags like this every single day. But believe it or not, the hashtags that they choose actually prevent exposure. But to be honest, it's pretty clear that they're not really using them to find exposure anyway. If you're like me, you probably have several people that pop in your mind that are serial offenders of this crime against hashtaggery. You know the ones that will post a picture of them laying on the beach with just absolutely irrelevant hashtags like hashtag where are my shoes, hashtag I don't know, hashtag margarita please, and hashtag Sandy Fun Time. Now, you might think that these people missed the memo on how hashtags actually work, but to be honest, I don't think they really care. People like this seem to love to use hashtags as like an additional comment or a witty joke or something like that. They don't really try to use them for additional exposure. Hashtags are traditionally used to tag and group similar themed content so that users are able to filter and browse by topic to find, things that they're interested in. But who would ever be browsing hashtag directories on Instagram trying to find photos filed under I should be at work and not on a beach? And if there was anyone out there who was frequently browsing hashtag Sandy Fun Time, I wouldn't want to know them, that's for sure. But I do feel bad for the music artists who put a genuine effort into hashtagging correctly, but just don't see the results that they aim for due to a lack of an understanding of how hashtags actually work. You can spot them immediately. These are the people who are using up all 30 hashtags to tag every single keyword that is even vaguely associated with what's in their post. I'm talking about tagging hashtags such as hashtag guitar, guitarist, guitar player, acoustic guitar, acoustic, recording, singer, on a post of them singing and playing guitar. Unfortunately, all of these hashtags are over-competitive and therefore useless, and no one is browsing them just trying to find the latest and greatest post. These tags are also incredibly broad, which means that they become overly common. And that adds into the competitiveness too. If you've got millions of people using these hashtags on their posts, it becomes pretty crowded. There's simply too much content in these overcrowded directories. So even if someone was browsing one of these highly competitive, overcrowded hashtags, your post is not going to be seen because it'll be lost amongst the sea of noise that occur within them. Your goal when choosing your hashtags is not to pick the most common ones. It's to find the most highly relevant, low competition niche tags that people actually browse on a daily basis. That way you stand the best chance of additional exposure and engagement on your post. Hashtags exist purely to show people more content. So if you play to their rules and understand how they work, this can happen for you in your posts too. Here's a tip. Never use a hashtag that describes in a literal sense what is in your post. I usually say that if you can think of a hashtag, it's not worth posting on. Why? Well, because if you can think of a hashtag, others can too, which means that it will quickly become competitive. Your mission is to find relevant niche hashtags that are low competition, that active, engaging users are frequently browsing on. And you can do this by using a free service called Display Purposes. You simply enter a hashtag that is relevant to your post, and it will generate you a list of low competition, highly relevant tags that you can use in your caption. But I'll give you a tip. This is a bit of an insider secret. Don't just copy paste the list that Display Purposes gives you. We can do better than that. I want you to take each hashtag that Display Purposes gives you and cross-reference it on Instagram. If you find that a hashtag has less than 30,000 posts or more than 700,000 posts, delete it. It's either unknown or it's too competitive. That space between 30,000 and 700,000 is your sweet spot. These are the tags that people are actively searching on, but not so much so that your post becomes instantly drowned by the competition. But if you'd rather not have to do this cross-referencing process, I highly recommend you look at a service called Tailwind. Tailwind is an auto scheduler that is absolutely amazing and has the best hashtag research tool that I've ever seen. And just so it's clear, they're not sponsoring this episode and I have no affiliations with them whatsoever. I've just used them in the past and I think they're great. But regardless of how you get your hashtags, never commit to using a list long term. Be sure to update them every now and then because hashtags change in popularity over time. The more people that find out about these hashtags, the more competitive they become, so the less you'll want to post on them. And also, never copy paste the same list to every single photo because that can dramatically affect your reach. When hashtags become too competitive and the quality of post drops, all of the active users within it usually start up a new one that they'll move to. And by staying on top of frequently updating your hashtag lists, you'll be the first to know about them when they do.
Thanks for listening to the I Am Northbound podcast. We'd love it if you would consider subscribing and leaving a comment or a review. It helps us more than you know. If you loved today's episode, please share it around. That way we can help even more artists change the world. And if you're serious about reaching your music goals, make sure that you've signed up to our free inner circle, I Am Northbound. You'll get immediate access to a vault full of content and tools that will help you dominate this new music industry. Seriously, it's like a cheat code for music artists. Now get out there and let your music change the world.